Hello, all, and welcome to the weekly podcast. Today, we have the privilege of having Dino Ballin. Many of you may know him, so he is a candidate for Stockton, our San Joaquin County Supervisor for District 2. So, we'll go into discussion with Dino. So, who he is, what kinds of changes he wants to bring for District 2 in San Joaquin County. So, I welcome and thank Dino for being here tonight.
Hi, how are you?
Thank
Thanks for
you.
having me on.
Yeah, no, appreciate your time, Dino. So, Dino, let's start with knowing you. So, many of us know you personally, your work. You are a long-time resident of San Joaquin County. You are a businessman. You studied from Stockton, Lincoln College. So, but yeah, for our information, more just elaborate. So, who Dino is, your personal professional journey.
Okay, so first of all, I'd just like to thank the Punjabi and Sikh community because I know that organizations such as Sikh Pantry and Sikhs for Humanity do so much work for our community. And just getting through the holiday season, I saw those organizations everywhere, and I know that many people reached out for help, and they were never turned down by those organizations. So thanks to the Punjabi and Sikh community for that. You do so much great work in the community. So for me, I think a lot of people ask if I'm a Democrat or a Republican. I'm sort of an enigma because I have support from both the Democrat and the Republican side. And I can tell you that I was raised in a Democrat household when I was a child. And when I was a little small child, I remember that there were George McGovern buttons and stickers around my house because my sisters were walkers for that campaign. And then similarly, when Jimmy Carter ran, there were walkers for Jimmy Carter. And in my household, when Ronald Reagan ran with George Bush Sr. against Ronald Reagan, you know, my household sort of viewed the Reagan Bush ticket as Darth Vader, the coming of Darth Vader, and they were fearful of him. And so when I was old enough to register to vote during Ronald Reagan's second term, I registered as a Republican and I voted for Ronald Reagan because I loved Ronald Reagan. So I considered myself a Ronald Reagan conservative. And as time passed, I became, I had some issues with the Republican Party, as I think many of us did. And but I still consider myself to this day a Ronald Reagan conservative. But I have a lot of Democrat ideals that are still instilled in me. And so I think that I think that being raised in a Democrat household and becoming conservative gives me perspective, gives me balance, and so I certainly respect both parties. I certainly respect both positions, and I think that background has also helped me to build a team. It's helped me to work well with other people, right?
Right.
And so that's a little bit of who I am and what my political position is. I'm pretty moderate, right down the middle on most issues. And the reason that I'm running for county supervisor is that I take a look at Stockton, and I think that I'm like a lot of people, right? I see problems and I maybe place blame on elected officials or bureaucrats. And so I just wanted to take responsibility and run because, I look at Stockton. My district is District 2. First of all, let me back up a little bit. So District 2 is essentially from north to south. It's 8 Mile Road to Harding Way, and then from west to east, it's I-5 to just about West Lane. It's that center rectangle in the middle of Stockton. And so I look at Stockton, and I just think that Stockton should be the crown jewel of the Central Valley, right? We have it all. We have two major freeways running through our town that are situated perfectly, as a matter of fact.
Right.
We have what I believe is the West Coast's third largest inland seaport. We have an airport that's rated for the largest aircraft. It's easily expandable. And the port, by the way, is easily expandable because we have 1,000 miles of beautiful waterways. We have trucking companies, we have railway. There's almost nothing that we don't have. And yet Stockton is continually ranks at the bottom of most livable cities. It ranks at the top of the list of the most dangerous cities to live in. And just not the other day, maybe a month ago, I had a contractor working at my business, and he was remodeling a bathroom, and he was from Galt. And he did a great job. So I went around Lincoln Center, and I bought a gift certificate from Midgley's, Papa Pablo's, Market Tavern, and I walked up to him and I said, "So what's your favorite restaurant in Lincoln Center?" He said, "I've never eaten in Lincoln Center." I said, "You haven't? Wow, you're in for a big treat." I said, "Well, which one would you like to try?" He said, I can't get my wife to come to Stockton. I said, what? He said, no, we don't go to Stockton. We're afraid. We're afraid we're going to get shot. And so that it's just, I think that Stocktonians and our youth have sort of given up that Stockton's going to get better. We've embraced this thug culture, right? And it's become part of like the t-shirts that we wear, like this, the hood, and we're proud of it. And I just think that's really sad. I haven't given up on Stockton. I continue to invest in Stockton and hope for a better future, but I've given up on hoping that the people that are in charge are going to make it better. So I've given up hope on them, right? And so I'm a citizen who's really stepping up to fill a void in leadership, what I perceive to be a void in leadership. And I'm just taking responsibility more, as I probably should have much earlier. So I think more business people should step up and fill these roles, because we, as business people, we know how to get things done, right? We know that when you open a business, plan A is success, whatever that may mean for you. But plan B is bankruptcy. There's no safety net for us. We either do it or we don't.
Right.
If we don't figure things out, we don't eat. Essentially, we don't pay our bills.
Right.
And so, as business people, we just get things done, and we really, good business people know how to build a team. And so, the industry that I'm in is the personal care industry, which is largely a liberal bunch of people,
right?
Artists, and me with my conservative values, I still work well with all of them, because I have some of that in me as well, also. But I don't do those services, but yet we built, my wife and I, some of the greatest businesses that exist in our industry. Right. And we were able to do that because we work well with other people. We're very respectful of other people, and we're really good at building a team. And so I look at Stockton, and I think that if you ever want to cut me off. Otherwise I'll just ramble.
No, sure.
Not too much. You can just reel me in. But I think that Stockton, as a whole, we sort of suffer from a low self-esteem problem. Because when you drive through our city, a lot of it's ugly. There's homeless encampments everywhere, and a lot of it has fallen into disrepair. And I think that you just look to the south. Look at Modesto. I think Modesto it just grew a little bit better than we did. The streets are clean. A lot of them are wide. It's easy to navigate. And so what I want to do is just help Stockton. I want to beautify it. Stockton needs a makeover, right? And we need hope that the future is going to get better. So one of the things that I'm talking about right now is creating a walkable midtown. Like, Tracy has a great midtown. Sacramento has a great midtown. Lodi, the downtown Lodi renovation that happened, whatever it was, 10, 20 years ago, that's been very successful. So I think that, there could be a walkable midtown miracle mile in which there's a lot of boutiques, bakeries, coffee shops. You can keep our local family-owned businesses healthy, and to give our people a place to go where they feel safe and they can enjoy the services there. Because, right now I drive to Sacramento to go to their midtown. We drive to Tracy to enjoy their midtown. We don't go to Stockton to enjoy our midtown because of the perceived safety hazards that exist. And doesn't look as nice as those areas, right? So that's one thing that I'd like to do. And I think if we continue to do things like that, Stockton will improve. We'll begin to feel better about where we live. Because think about when you travel, right? So whenever you travel, and I hate to say this, because I love Stockton, I love where I'm from, but this is just true. I'm just embracing the truth, right? So when we travel, whether it's to Sacramento or Modesto or to Mexico or wherever, conversations invariably lead to two things. What do you do for a living, and where are you from? And I've spoken to a lot of my friends, and the consensus is pretty much that, when it comes to where you're from, if you're from Stockton, you say, I'm from near Sacramento, or I'm 45 minutes south of Sacramento. Because if you say you're from Stockton, that brings up all sorts of negative connotations. And I'm just so tired of that. I'm sick of that. And I just think that we have to start doing things differently. And so what is the definition of insanity, right? The definition of insanity is to keep doing the same things and expecting a change. And so I think applying that to politics is we keep electing the same people and we expect them to bring us change. And it's not going to happen, because it's a lot of people think it's a knowledge of the issues or having ideas. But I would guess that the people that are in office now have knowledge of the issues, and I would guess they have ideas. And we're still in a world of shit here. And so I think that it's much more than that, because I'm sure you run into a lot of people that say they have an idea for an invention or a business, but they never do anything, because an
Yeah.
idea by itself is worthless.
Right.
It's
No,
the
absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
energy behind the idea, the
Right.
commitment to see the idea through, and the character to overcome the struggles, and to work with other people to build a team that gets things done.
Right.
And so, yeah, I just think that all of these things, I think that I'm equipped to do. And I truly believe that some of the people that are running aren't really running. They don't have the energy. I mean, if they could have done it, they would have done it. Right. And so I think that, if you've been in office for 8 years, do we want to give you 8 more? I don't think so. I think that it's time for a change. And if you want something to change, you've got to do things differently. You've got to vote differently. And so I do represent that change, and I'm hopeful that people would give me the opportunity, because if you just look at what I've done in my business, we've done it. So in my industry, I believe that I Googled it one time, and I believe that the average income in my industry is like $33,000 a year in the
Right.
personal care industry. But in our businesses that my wife and I built, everybody's a six-figure stylist. And we did that. We accomplished that because we were very intentional. We were very purposeful, because we love our crew, we love our staff. We don't want them to have horrible lives. We want them to plan for the future. We want them to have a great retirement. So we teach all of these things. We instill all of these things in them. And I do believe that something like that can be expanded citywide. Right. I know that Tom Patty and Carlos Villaputo and Miguel Villaputo and I think Carlos too are working on vocational training programs for Stockton at the Delta College, so that we can have a skilled workforce that that doesn't have to rely on getting a job at a warehouse or something like that. Not that that's a bad job, but I mean, if we have a skilled workforce of plumbers, welders, electricians, hairstylists,
Right.
barbers, these people can achieve six-figure incomes and have better lives. And I think that's highly important. That's another thing that I would
Yeah,
support.
as you touched about the vocational training and the value of education. So one thing is, like, we don't have a good university close by, like if we talk about the Sac State thing, somebody if they want to pursue further education, maybe they have to go to Sac State or they have to go to San Jose State, and there's a issue of brain drain as well. As you are very passionate about Stockton, you had your education from here, you know the whole area, you want to add value as an entrepreneur because you
Yeah.
know the grassroots issues. So you may be seeing this brain drain issue too, like somebody who grew up in these areas, went to school in these areas, they went to universities away from where they grew up, and they are not coming back. So
Right.
what are your thoughts on that? How to just retain that talent so that that talent can serve their communities?
Well, why would they stay? Honestly, because as I just said, Stockton ranks at the bottom of the most livable lists in the
Right,
dangerous cities. So when you go to if you go to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, you don't want to move
right,
back here, even Erie
right,
and Sacramento. And I don't really blame them. So I think that we have to begin with, first of all, not only vocational things and beautifying the city, but I would also try to attract. I think I was speaking to somebody yesterday about, did Tesla just open a plant in Reno? I believe it was Tesla that opened a plant in Reno that could have been here because Tesla offered them tax incentives and we didn't, right? So we need to court more industry to come here that offer high paying skilled labor jobs.
right.
And I believe we have the workforce that could, make that possible. And we definitely have the logistics. And it just that's another thing that's always puzzled me. It's like, when you look to the south at Modesto, they got Frito-Lay, they've got Gallo, they've got Pepsi, they've got all these industries there that provide good paying, high upper end middle class jobs, and upper middle class jobs. In Stockton, I think we have a void of that, for a large part. But I think that the citizens of Stockton deserve better, because who's to blame for the situation that we're in, right? I mean, you're not to blame, I'm not to blame, I don't think. I think the workers that go to work every day aren't to blame. So, and I'm tired of pointing fingers, so
Right.
it's time to just step up and start. I think it's time to step up and just start doing things being more proactive. And but as far as retaining that talent, I think if they see a better life, it's their responsibility to pursue it. and we need to offer that better life here. And I believe that we can do that.
No, absolutely. You are right to incentivize those companies so that they have their base in Stockton. So that would be a good step moving forward, just to encourage them so that more people who are educating from here, they get opportunities at their hometowns. So
Yes.
other thing is logistic wise, as you mentioned that there is freeway structure is here and many trucking opportunities are here. I was reading San Joaquin County, it is at number 2 across United States logistic wise. So what would be your approach to retain that logistic or just create it as a logistic hub, or to work towards those hardworking people who are in logistic, like trucking companies, as affiliated as truckers or with all parts of the different arena around the logistic side?
I'm not sure I understand the question fully, but I just believe so. When I'm county supervisor, I just want to reach out to whoever it is in whatever industries that are valuable to our community and ask what can I do to make your lives easier? What
Right.
can I do? What can I do to help you expand your business? What can I help you? How can I make it easier to grow your business and provide more quality jobs for us? And that's
Right.
what we would do. I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert on everything, right? So if you have a business, I have a business. I'm not the bookkeeper. I'm not the accountant, right? I'm not the cleaning the crew, but I have really quality people that I've hired to do all those things for me, and I love them. They do a great job. So as county supervisor, it's about building a team. I mean, so the first thing that I would do is go to the heads of the agencies and find out how I can make their lives better. What can
Right.
I do to make your jobs easier? What can I do to help me improve this community? And all the business leaders, what can I do to help you expand your business, grow it, like you said, keep your business here.
Right. Yeah, and one thing you touched about the homelessness, that yeah, we all are aware that Stockton, it does face a challenge with homelessness as well as the law and order. So with
Right.
that respect, so how do you think with your leadership, if you are given an opportunity, so what would be your first steps in that direction, so that those things, like it will be a more safe city as well as homelessness, those issues, those gets reduced?
Well, first of all, with the crime, so I feel really badly for our law enforcement officers because they've pretty much been demonized in the media, and we need a strong police force. Obviously,
Yeah.
when you're in trouble, who do you call? When you make that call, you want somebody to pick up on the other end.
Right.
And so I'm for fully funding our law enforcement agencies and our first responders, making sure they're well equipped, and we need more personnel, not less. And so anything they need, I'm in support of giving to them. And I'm sorry, what was the second part of your question?
The homelessness issue,
The
what would be
homeless.
your approach?
So, I know that there have been, I'm reading a few books on this right now, and I have spoken to the current supervisors about it. And I know that there was an initiative that was put for votes before the board of county supervisors, maybe last year, and it failed by one vote. I would have been that missing vote. And I believe that it would have been a successful program because what it does is it emulates successful programs that exist in other counties, right? So it's not reinventing the wheel. So you can look at counties across the country, really, that have that have dealt with the homeless pandemic unsuccessfully, and you can look at counties that have dealt with it very successfully. And
Right.
all you have to do to be successful is copy somebody who's already been successful. So I just copy those programs, and what that is you create navigation centers and provide beds for all of them, right? And they're made to go. So sleeping outdoors is no longer an option.
Right.
So they either go to the navigation centers or they leave the county, right? And so at these navigation centers, they're provided mental health care services, they're provided drug rehab services, which is they're in desperate need of, and then they're provided a pathway to transitional housing and then permanent housing. Um, and that's been proven successful in other areas. And I believe the statistics that I've seen is that about 40% of the homeless take part in the program and 60% leave, right?
Right.
And so I believe that's the number that I've heard. And I've heard other people say, well, that sounds expensive. right? I mean, how can we afford that? And I think what people assume is that what we're doing now costs nothing. And that's not true, because having no plan is the most expensive option, right? So
Absolutely.
right now with no plan,
Right.
another statistic that I've heard, I haven't looked at it myself, but what I was told by one of the supervisors is that 40% of the calls to the fire departments are to respond to homeless encampment emergencies. 40%.
Right.
And a similarly high number is attributed to calls to police and sheriff. And so the cost of having no plan is tens of millions of dollars per year. And
Right.
the cost of this proposed plan before the county supervisors was $2 million a year. So that would have saved tens of millions of dollars that we could use for other much needed improvements for Stockton and to fully fund these first responding agencies.
Right. No, thank you. Yeah, no, absolutely. We shouldn't be reinventing the wheel, but adopting from other friendly cities or brothers and sisters who have done some in this part and just incorporating as it fits to the city of Stockton.
Right.
So, yeah, moving along, as we all struggled with COVID, especially you are an entrepreneur and running your own business. So, you may have seen it across the businesses, how it impacted the small businesses. So, and still it's an ongoing thing. So, we don't see a permanent end to this issue at this point of time. So, if you'll get an opportunity to lead the district too, for those small businesses, what would be your approach to uplift them?
For the COVID, I was just looking at a statistic today, and it said that 23% of small businesses have closed forever due to the COVID pandemic.
Right.
And the truth is, they didn't close due to the COVID pandemic. They closed due to our response to the COVID pandemic, which I think our response was horrific. And let's go back to like 2020, right? I'm a small business owner.
Right.
And when the first lockdown came in, what was it, February, March of 2020, it was closing my business and walking away from it was a surreal experience. It was an out-of-body experience. I couldn't believe that I was locking my doors and just closing my business, just shuttering. It was just an unbelievable experience. And but we did it because this was the unknown. I didn't feel in my gut that it was the right thing to do,
Right.
but wasn't sure. And so we closed up shop and we went home. And my wife and I stayed home. We actually stayed home for about 2 or 3 weeks.
Right.
We were kind of spooked. It felt kind of strange, And one day, about maybe 2.5, 3 weeks into this self-imposed quarantine, we said, let's go out into the world. Let's see what's going on. Like, let's drive through Stockton. Let's drive all the way to the Bay Area. And we did that. And we were shocked to see that we felt like we were the only ones that stayed home. Everybody was out. The streets were packed. Restaurants were packed. Drive-thrus were packed. And I said, well, this is never going to end, obviously.
Yeah.
And what are we doing? This is crazy. And so when the second lockdown occurred, we just didn't close. We thought there's no data to support it. There's no scientific evidence to support it. But there are headlines on CNN and Fox News that could be misleading. And but if you look deeper into the numbers, because we did have data by that time, we did have scientific data, especially by the third lockdown,
right?
But which we didn't close for either. And we refused to hide, right? A lot of people stayed open, but they stayed open in secret. And we refused to hide. We were open publicly because I didn't want our workers to feel like they were criminals, and I didn't want our clients to feel like they were criminals, because we weren't. It was made illegal for the first time in the history of the world. Maybe it was illegal to work, which was mind blowing. And so during the second lockdown, we knew that 75% of all infections occurred in the home. Right. We knew that 10% or so occurred in retail and other businesses, and we knew that less than 1%, far less than 1%, occurred in personal services locations, because when you're in a retail location, nobody's watching you. Your movements aren't regulated. You're wandering around the store aimlessly. You walk into a restaurant, the first thing you do is take off your mask. You can't eat and drink with a mask on.
Right.
But in personal care services, it's possible to wear masks 100% of the time, and your movements are very controlled. You're not wandering around. You move from this station to that station and back to this station. And the CDC itself conducted a study, and they determined that if both stylist and client are wearing masks at least 98% of the time, the transmission of COVID will not occur.
Right.
And throughout 2020, there was never, and this was stated by Maggie Park, it was stated by the health director from San Mateo, and it was stated by the health director from San Diego, and then later on, it was even stated by the health director of the state of California, that not one outbreak of COVID had occurred in a hair salon, not one, and yet we were closed. We were forced to close. It was illegal to work. And at the same time, I had, in my industry, you have to understand that it's largely women, and many of them are single mothers who are supporting their children.
Yep.
And many of them are the primary breadwinners of their families. And it was just, they would call me and just plead with me to please let me work. Right. And so I allowed them to work, because if I didn't allow them to work, they were still going to go to somebody's houses to do the hair, just like everybody else was doing. Right. And so what that would do is that would turn a hair service into a hair service done in a home family gathering environment. And that's where COVID was occurring. Because if you go to somebody's house, the first thing they're going to ask you is, do you have to work? Can I take my mask off? And they did. They would take their mask off. And if you were working even behind papered windows, customers would come in and they'd say, hey, do I have to wear my mask because nobody can see us? No, take your mask off. Right. I did it the safest way. We were completely open. We always wore masks. We wore face shields. We were completely safe. And so, I think people also, if they Google me and they know that I was against the lockdowns, they think I'm anti-mask. They think I'm anti-vaccine. I'm not. I'm absolutely not. I was against arbitrary and capricious closures, right? The arbitrary selection of winners and losers in the closure process. I've never been against the safety standards. My mom wears a mask, right? I'm not ridiculing my mother for wearing a mask. And if an employee of another business asks me to wear a mask, I'll put it on. I don't want to put the employee in the uncomfortable position of policing me or getting into some kind of a screaming match with me. Right. And by the way, I am vaccinated. I'm not anti-vaccine. Not because I fear COVID, just because I thought it was the right thing to do. And so I think that, because I was against the closures, a lot of people assume that I'm far right. In fact, I was contacted by some militant groups who would say they assumed that, and they said that, we can be in front of your business with, AK-40s or whatever, with 1,500 of us that are armed. That's not who I am. I'm not militant. I just want to get my people back to work safely, right? And so I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, it's a great learning about you, your focus, your vision, what you stand for. So if we miss something in the discussion, just please, share that point as well. And lastly, just for our audience, how they remember Dino briefly.
How to remember Dino. I'm somebody that I think I'm not here to waste my time or yours, right? And pardon my French, but I'm not full of shit. I'm just not. And if I say it, I do it. And I'm often this period of time reminds me of a speech that I heard Ronald Reagan give when I was a younger man. And Ronald Reagan said that he borrowed a quote from the Gettysburg Address, I believe it was, where he said, this is the government of the people, by the people, for the people. Right. And that our government should be like a car, right? And you and I are the drivers of that car. Right. And that car should go where we tell it to go and by what route it should get there. Well, right now, you and I, we're really not the drivers of that car. I don't feel like we are anyway. I feel like we're in a runaway vehicle. I feel like I'm in fact hostage, blindfolded, put in the trunk of this car, and I have no say, right? And if I do voice my opinion, I may be arrested. I may be fined. I may have my license revoked. I maybe, have some punishments, put upon me. But so I just think that, while we can't do something, we can't do much on the supervisors on a federal level, we damn sure can make sure that common sense prevails on a local level. And I will do everything that I can in a peacefuful way to ensure that common sense and stability rules the day in this county.
So, and if somebody from our audience wants to know more about you, So, what are the channels they can reach you, or if they want to learn more about you? So, what are some of the options they can look into?
Okay, so I'm Dino Ballin on Instagram. I'm Dino Ballin on Facebook, just at Dino Ballin. And we've had some issues with our website. I apologize for that, but we'll have it up again soon. It's Ballin for Supervisor on www.ballinforsupervisor. But actually, social media is the best way to learn about me and to keep in touch.
Sure. No, thank you very much, Dino. And for our listeners, so it was a great discussion with Dino Balin, who is San Joaquin County Supervisor for District 2. He will be running the elections. So we have learned about him. And for any questions, please feel free to reach out to him directly. He shared his information on Facebook, Instagram, and you will also have his websites in front of you to learn more about his vision, what he stands for, and what changes he wants to bring for District 2, the San Joaquin County. And in case you want to reach out to him or any question for us, we can always willing to forward those questions to him and get them answered. So thank you very much, Dino. Appreciate your
Thank
time.
you. Thank you
And
very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
yeah, thanks to the audience for listening. Stay healthy, stay informed. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.